the entrepreneurial bug had really bitten me at a very young age. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family where both my parents were setting up businesses while I was growing up. So I would spend a lot of my weekends, my vacations, sort of helping them out in setting up, observing how they were doing it. So at a very young age, I knew that I wanted to take an entrepreneurial journey, and I did want to do it in India as well. But when I moved to university, I sort of explored the other side of my passion, which was investing. And I got into multiple investment roles, starting with a fund of funds, post that moved to investment banking, and then finally a private equity fund in New York. Worked there for a few years before moving to London with the same equity fund. And then finally in 2020, decided that I wanted to bring both my passions for entrepreneurship as well as investing together, and move back to India to explore the next phase of my career, which was around early stage investing. So initially sort of started getting my hands dirty, working with various entrepreneurs, took up 2 gigs, primarily in customer acquisition and growth, sort of learning a little bit more of the operational side, which got me into angel investing. I have 10 investments in my portfolio currently, and then, which eventually led me to start Eximius. As I did realize during this entire process that early stage investing was still extremely cumbersome and long for founders. For the first company what I was helping out with, we spent anywhere between 3 months to 6 months helping the entrepreneur get ready for funding and then helping them get their entire round of fund. Pitching to various angels, collecting 5 to 10 lakhs each. And having sort of seen how funding goes on in the Valley and abroad, I knew that this could be made a lot more seamless and less tiresome for entrepreneurs. So with that thought process, we started Eximius. Eximius is a micro VC fund. We are looking to make about 25 to 30 investments over the next 2 to 3 years. Our average check size is around 150 to 300K. And what we really focus on is to ensure that the journey of an entrepreneur during fundraising is seamless. At the early stages, there are barely 4 or 5 people on the team. And during that time, if an entrepreneur has to spend 40 or 50% of their time fundraising rather than actually building the product or scaling, it could be detrimental to the growth of the startup. And this is what we want to make easier for them. Just to sort of give a short explanation, micro VC funds are small funds that are typically with asset under management of 10 to 20 million. But that's not the only thing. In fact, what's more important is that micro VCs are agile funds that are run by solo capitalists or dual capitalists. What is the key USP is that they're very lean in nature. And the way I like to always say it is that they bring the heft of an institution with the agility of an angel. And as a startup ecosystem in India is maturing and deepening, it is important that we have more and more micro VCs sort of come in and fill the gap at the very early stages. Just to give an example, if we have seed rounds of 1 to 2 million, it is important that a founder raises more than 10 or 20 lakhs at the very early stages, anywhere between 100 and 500K, so that he or she is able to quickly develop a product, grow, scale it to a certain extent to be able to show early signs of product market fit, so that they're well positioned to raise a larger seed round of 1 to 2 million. Not just that, but also at the same time, as we see more and more domestic capital sort of coming in into India, or family offices and HNIs warming up to this asset class, there will be proliferation of micro VCs, since it's the easiest way or the most convenient way for domestic capital and smaller checks of 1 to 2 million coming in from LPs, making to the startup ecosystem. While it is a competitive space, we must agree that there's still quite a bit of space for new funds and more capital to come into this industry. We are still seeing only 8 to 10% of companies getting funded at the seed stage, while 90 to 95% of the companies end up failing because of lack of funds. So clearly, there is still a need for more funds to come up and fill this gap. Having said that, micro VCs bring a very unique feature to the table. They come in at the very early stage. What I like to say is the valley of death. This is really the time where, other than family and friends, or maybe a few angels, if the founder is well connected, there are not that many people in the industry that are taking a bet on them. At the same time, while there are certain syndicates and crowdfunding platforms, it takes a very long time for founders to raise funds from them. And at this stage, a micro VC can come, quickly write check of 100 to 500K, bring in the kind of support that is required to help the founder build a product and be positioned to raise another fund within the next 12 months to 18 months, as well as provide better worth to later stage VCs. I think these are three primary areas where a micro VC can help out, which is seamlessness, bring heft of an institution through the support system that they create around them, as well as give that runway to the founder to be able to raise a much larger seed stage without extinguishing before that. I would say that this is really the golden period for the startup ecosystem in India. Not just the startup ecosystem, but also the investing ecosystem. We are seeing newer use cases being developed like never before. This is the first time that we are seeing several second and third time entrepreneurs come up again to solve these deeper use cases, bring in their experiences from the past ventures, whether it was a failure or a success, to make this process, this building process, a lot more efficient, thereby increasing the probability of success as well. In addition to that, on the investing side as well, we are seeing that our ecosystem has matured quite a bit. VCs are way more comfortable underwriting riskier bets. We are way more comfortable underwriting bets without any revenue, not just any revenue at that point, but also revenue in sight for the next 6 to 12 months, which allows entrepreneurs to experiment, to try bolder ideas, more innovative ideas. So really, I would say that the next decade, in my view, will belong to India, where we'll see a lot of learnings from our previous decade come into this to make it a much more efficient building process in general. In a way, if you think about it, we are seeing a lot more millennial founders come up. We are seeing millennial customers come up. And so it is almost necessary that we will have more and more millennial investors come up as well. At the same time, today, if you speak with founders, if you see what they're really looking for, they don't necessarily require somebody who's constantly hand-holding them or require somebody who's providing a lot of oversight. Rather, they're looking for something that I call a peer investor. Who is a peer investor? Somebody who probably is around the same age as them, might have 5 or 6 years of more or less experience compared to them, but somebody who's young, who's willing to hustle, who's willing to be a sounding board to these founders, where founders should not feel like they always have to portray themselves in good light, but rather they can just be themselves. Because once the capital has gone in, I believe that the dynamic has changed between an investor and a founder, where they become more of friends and partners in this journey than they were ever before. So during that time, it's important that both of them are open to each other. They're able to share the lows and the highs. And this is what founders are looking for as well, that peer investors are best positioned to provide. Just to summarize, as I always like to say it, that the job of an investor is to be a good sounding board, to ask the right questions, to introspect, and to help the founders find the right solution. But after finding the right solution, executing it and showcasing the traction that is required, that's the founder's job. And this is what micro VCs bring to the table as well, through peer investors and solo capitalists. It is very close to my personal journey as well as my personal goal. When I was helping my parents out, I saw that my mother's journey was very different to my father's. There were a lot of hurdles that she faced in the normal course of building that my father could have never imagined facing. And that very young age, I knew that the building process for female, the way our current society is set up, is difficult. So at Eximius, we do give precedence to female founders. While we are not exclusive to female founders, we do speak to male founders, and we think that entrepreneurship is gender neutral. So we speak both to male and female. But I believe that for more female founders to come about, we will require more and more female VCs as well. Unless there aren't that many investors or female investors that are pounding the table and saying that we can write checks, it would be very difficult for female founders to get comfortable. And this is sort of like, we would say that we are better positioned to support female founders because we can connect with them better. If you're sitting in front of a white Texas male, which I was doing a few years ago, I knew that I just couldn't connect with him as well as my colleague who was Texan white male could connect. Similarly, if there's a female founder, she can connect a lot better with a female VC like myself, which is where we think we have an advantage compared to other VCs when it comes to female founders. And we require more and more of female investors to come in and so lead this initiative further. It is easier for female investors to connect with founders because we have gone through a similar journey, or we have been in their shoes. We understand how it is to manage our priorities outside of work, outside of the office, while making sure that our work doesn't get hampered. While male VCs can empathize with this situation, they might not be able to really connect with it as well as a female VC can. So for example, if a female VC has built something while she was raising a kid or while she was pregnant, she'll be able to see a founder in a similar light and will be able to connect with the founder a lot better than a male would be able to. And this is precisely why we require more and more female VCs to come up and to sort of promote or make it more normal for females to build while not compromising on their personal life. Why females to come out and, in a way, have it all, because we really can have it all. We can have a family as well as not compromise with our career. Like any other building process, challenges are a constant given. Every single day we are faced with new challenges. Sometimes it is convincing our LPs why micro VC is a good alternative investment to go with. Sometimes teaching them more about the startup ecosystem and why it's poised to grow multifold from here on. Sometimes there are challenges convincing founders why we would be the best partners that they can go on with. But as you pointed out, yes, I have to agree that there have been times when I have noticed that people might have seen me in a different light because of my age and my gender. But in a way, I try not to focus too much on it. I try not to let it get to me and focus more on the challenges that I can solve. Because once I start to focus on the challenges that I can't solve, which is a given, in essence, we are stopping ourselves from moving ahead. So, in my day-to-day life, I try to be a lot more objective, look at problems where I can really go in, create a strategy to move past, and then just work towards that. While there might be other challenges that I have to push aside and just hope that, with the work that we are doing, with the kind of impact that we are making, that eventually will not matter as much. We all are faced with setbacks each day. For me, what's most important is to look at people around me who have worked harder, struggled more to be where they are. And that gives me immense motivation to move forward. So I feel more gratitude in the place where I am and the opportunities that have been given to me and where we can move forward from there. Having said that, of course, there are days when it is hard to get by. So I follow a journal where every morning I write down all the things that are probably bothering me, all the self doubts that I have. And then I just quickly think over each one of them for a minute or two. How, in the larger scheme of things, these questions of self doubt, questions that I have about myself, will not matter much, and how objectively I can come over them. This has worked really well for me, because once you write your thoughts down, you realize that they're not as significant as you might be thinking in your mind. So yeah, I think this has helped tremendously. The biggest advice is believe in yourself, even when others are not believing in you. People will come by. If you don't believe in yourself, there is no way you can move forward. Have confidence and constantly network, and network right. Often it's important to network with a giver's hand. And by that, what I mean is not to expect immediate return from each and every relationship you build, but build relationships to actually add value to their lives. Because this is a long journey, it's a marathon. Even if they don't help you today, or even if that relationship doesn't add value today, 5 years or 10 years down the line, it will be of help to you and value to you. So I think these are three things that I would ask, or I would advise each woman investor and entrepreneur to focus on. Anu Dugal in the US. She started when this niche wasn't really created. She was a pioneer in it, and in her late 30s, so very young as well. And looking at people around me who don't have the same opportunity that I do, so it motivates me to make the best of what I'm given. I wouldn't say it's as much of the constructive criticism as saying you cannot do it, you will not survive in this role. I think I take it as a challenge to move forward. I picked up meditating. It has kept me going for the last 1 year.